It's all right. It's okay. It's okay.
Fatima, I'm very good.
Yeah, you know how they are, man. Kids.
Yeah. She'll be all right. So I'll be married. You were cool. Like,
Yeah, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
that's good. That's good. Oh, I wanted to play some music to get this going. And I'm going to do that in a second. All right. You know, Afridamus might join us a little bit later on too. So just FYI. Are you able to hear me, Sheriff?
I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah. No, mic was on mute. So.
Okay. And in a little bit, in about 10 minutes, Honorable Omar Ceesay of the GDC, the Nyamina East parliamentarian, will also join us too.
Inshallah.
Yeah, we're going to be having some interesting conversations today. Interesting. Hey, are you following the NBA? Sheriff?
Yeah.
Are you following the NBA trying to resume before Christmas?
No, not really, no.
Man, I mean, it's an audacious attempt, but I don't know. Hopefully they can pull it off. I don't think they can, though. Anyway, we'll see. And I'm doing some things here real quick, and we're about to start, viewers. You know, give us a few seconds. And we're about to start this conversation going on today. I'm also demanding that wrong, you know. And in our conversation that, like, you know, Honorable Omar Ceesay Nyamina is la parliamentarian, no? I will more join in about 10 minutes, and then now more join, you know, we're gonna have interesting conversations going on Gambia la Politico. Okay, you know, you joined live on LSTV1, the Limo the Gam Recap Show, and today Max Sheriff Nyofinega Sheriff Kora. Nañ am Honorable Omar Ceesay mooy di Nyamina East member of parliament nañu join si kanam tuuti in 10 minutes time suñu joinee nag you know ñu am you know waxtaan yu bari lu ñu war a waxtaan si mbiri politique Gambia bi and you cannot afford to miss it. You know, it's going to be interesting conversations, guys. It was 1 second. We're almost about to get this going. So, Sheriff.
Yeah.
You know, in Nyamina West, they have this by-elections that is about to start all over.
Right.
That was kind of delayed a little bit due to the coronavirus pandemic in Gambia too. And now they're trying to, you know, do the by-elections by November 7th. So it's a little bit of a short notice, but then, you know, this seat was originally filled by a GDC parliamentarian, you know, something Samba that passed, you know, on his while on a trip to Morocco. So now afterwards, they're trying to fill the seat again. So the NPP has a candidate, I think and then GDC also has a candidate. So it seems like the UDP did not have a candidate there. So the UDP is backing the GDC candidate. And I can see on social media, on some of these UDP groups, they are saying that if you're a UDP supporter, go ahead and support the GDC candidate. So I'm kind of surprised, you know. It'll mirror UDP ning GDC. It can have football level, you know. Does it show any prospects, you know, for the future? What's going on?
Well, it's definitely a show of solidarity between the two parties. and I think it lends back to the original arrangement they had,
Uh-huh.
parliamentary elections. Where UDP left, certain areas that they felt other parties were strong in.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's UDP honoring its campaign pledge, or political solidarity, with the GDC, because the position was originally held by GDC candidate.
Uh-huh.
So UDP doing that, I think that's a good sign to all of us that the parties are still, some of the parties are still in harmony.
I'll stay on
The
right.
GDC. I would not say this is going to be some sort of a prediction that when 2021 comes, there will be an alliance, between the GDC and the UDP.
Uh-huh.
It's something that will be very premature to make, and I don't want to make
Ah,
some bold prediction. But at the same time, politics is politics,
yeah.
and it's about having a critical mass, to win. So you cannot rule anything out, but I wouldn't make that bold prediction. But I think it just goes back to the original arrangement that UDP had with GDC and other parties, to some sort of a strategic alliance. UDP already has a majority in the House,
I
so
mean, I
they
mean, UDP's majority, is kind of debatable right now. I
well,
mean,
yeah, but
in terms of numbers, but in terms of impact, it's not there.
well, you have to look at it this way: in parliamentary democracy, you have to have diversity, and now it's only 1 year before we get into another election cycle.
Yeah.
Logically, if I were, within the UDP camp and I have an advisory role, I would probably advise the party not to invest its resources at this point in time to put a candidate in place. Number one, you're gonna spend resources and time in an area that has already been occupied by another political party just for 1 year. So this is a litmus test for the
Yeah.
NPP
But
because
I also understand too that, back then, when the UDP said, they're coming for a tactical alliance instead of just going by independent candidates, individuals like that. So they said that the UDP will not contest in areas where other politicians are the majority. For example, if the GDC is a majority in a certain constituency, then the UDP will not contest that. So that's the reason why they did not even contest the Serekunda parliamentary election seat, because Halifa was there. So I think that being the case, but now look at this. That's done and over. The parliamentarian, he passed. May God rest his soul in peace. And then afterwards, now I don't know, why do you think it took too long for the IEC, to allow for by-elections? A lot of people was kind of speculating that maybe because they wanted to ensure that the NPP gets a good political footing in order to come up with a candidate at the grassroots level. So that's why they delayed it, purposely, while using the pandemic as an excuse. So it'll mirror, it's on the
well, I don't want to get into speculations. Yeah, it's politics. So you'll have people that would make all sorts of speculations and accusations against the IEC.
Yeah.
But you all know the what I'm gonna. Yeah, sorry, my daughter, give me a.
It's okay. It's
But
okay.
Mumbije, it's like we have the COVID-19 stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like you can't hold a general election or any by-election at this time when people are trying to practice safe social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
So the government cannot be advising that the people should stay away from
Right.
communicating, and then at the same time hold a by-election. This is not the time for it. So but again, people will always make speculations, whether it's right or not, but I don't want to get into that. We know we are in times of emergency and the by-elections is being held. That's what's most important.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's my take on it.
Uh-huh. So what I've also noticed too is that the elections is like a lot of these people. The guy is joining us now, so let me just put him to the stream real quick. and get him in 1 second. I have to edit his name here real quick. Sir, are you there? It says MC Cham Jr. It shouldn't say that. Mr. Ceesay, can you hear us? Mr. Ceesay. Mr. Ceesay, can you hear me? It seems that he's getting some internet problems or something like that. Mr. Ceesay, Amadiga.
Yeah, that's a lag. Yeah.
Yeah, not sure if he could hear me very well though. I hope he's able to get in because this is going to be a very pretty interesting conversation that we're about to have right now. Mr. Ceesay, can you hear me?
Would it be possible to call him on the phone instead of him being on video?
The WhatsApp in Gambia is terrible as well. I might have to call him directly.
Oh, okay.
I don't like to call people on WhatsApp in Gambia because when you do, it starts reconnecting all over. It's pretty annoying for me. I can't deal with that. It's like is my pet peeve right there. But we'll just wait for him to reconnect again, and then we'll have him in the conversations. But going back and coming from what I'm coming, so it's ikajele sang because last election of Munkidanu, NRP NRP and GDC against each other, right? And it was really close though. It was very, very close. He's coming again. Let me add him to the stream one more time. Mr. Ceesay. He seems to be having some connectivity issues. Mr. Ceesay, can you hear me? Honorable. He cannot hear me. So, Sheriff, let's continue until we're able to hear him, okay?
Sure.
So, as I was saying, last elections, it was NRP against GDC, right? And because of that, the results were really close. But now it's like, all of these parties are now cross-pollinating. Like you look at NRP, NPP, PPP, GPDP. So all of these parties now are combining, merging together to fight to go against the GDC candidate. So, in your own opinion, do you think the GDC, gets to have an opportunity to win here? Mr. Ceesay, can you hear us? Mr. Ceesay? Mr. Ceesay? Bro, the internet in Gambia is a mess, man.
Well, we are waiting for you to go there and make that change,
Oh, man. And it's hella expensive, too, just to have the internet over there and to be so, I don't know. I can't. I have a friend of mine that was in Gambia for a while, and he was spending close to like about $150.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Mr. Ceesay, can you hear me? Honorable. But yes, Sheriff, you can continue until he gets back.
Yeah, well, I've not really followed, Ila campaign, and Gambia doesn't have they don't have polls, to my knowledge. So
Right.
it's going to be very hard, to make that bold prediction. But again, as you said, it's been a stronghold for the GDC.
Right.
So maybe what probably could happen is, in the favor of the GDC, since this guy passed away, that sympathy factor, could play, within their favor. But
Okay.
I don't want to make, again, predictions, I think that would be very presumptuous, to do. But
Right.
I mean, since NRP doesn't have a candidate now, it's NPP. And as we all know, a lot of people are fed up with the NPP. And this might, just be a litmus test, to Adama Barrow to probably, know how the people feel about him. Not only within the urban areas, but in the rural areas as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's right. Because this, like you said, is going to be the litmus test. Is the first time that his party is putting up a candidate, in a major election in Gambia. So we will see. That would determine, his party's trajectory going forward, and if they need to go back to the drawing table or not, to kind of work on their grassroots mobilization and all that stuff. So
Right.
Another thing that I wanted to talk to. He's calling me on WhatsApp. Let's see if that works. Hello? Hello? I don't know. I told you the WhatsApp sucks too in Gambia, man. All this keeps saying is reconnecting. Let me try to call him directly and see if that's gonna help our conversations with him.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm calling him right now, so hopefully, he can join us over the phone instead.
Yeah, I hope that works. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Ceesay. Hey. Oh no. That's fine. Are you able to talk while on the phone instead? No. I'm saying, are you able to just do it over the phone and people can hear you? Yeah. Let's do that. Okay. No. We can do it now. You're fine. All right. So we live. Okay. All right, so we have Honorable Ceesay here. He's been having technical difficulties with the internet back in Gambia, but we have him joining us via phone. So, Honorable Ceesay, thank you for joining us today. This is the GAM Recap Show. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and my greetings to every one of you, and of course the audience, whosoever is listening to wherever you are. I wish to extend my greetings to everyone and listeners.
Thank you so much. So, Mr. Ceesay, you are one of those young politicians out there that a lot of people are looking up to in the Gambia. And during the draft constitution debate, you were one of the vocal people. And then, we've seen you in various media houses and talking about, the context of the draft constitution. We will touch that a little bit later on because we saw something that came up yesterday about the cabinet giving the justice minister a mandate, to do some groundwork, regarding the constitution. But before we get to that, I want us to talk about the Nyamina West by-elections that is upcoming. So where are you as a party right now regarding the Nyamina West by-elections?
Thank you very much. It's a very important question because looking at the political atmosphere in this country, as we speak, the top of the town is about the upcoming by-election in Yemen and West Africa, just the world.
Yes.
It is very unfortunate, and I pray for the Almighty, the beneficial that the late Honorable Pepper Shaw, who was the then National Assembly member there, may he so rest in perfect peace. It is unfortunate that he is late now, but what actually is happening.
Sheriff, are you able to hear him?
Yes, but the voice is a little bit muffled.
The voice, if you can speak a little bit louder, or maybe if you cannot, if don't use an earpiece because we're having difficulty hearing you. If you can put the phone to your ear, please.
Yes, I'm using earpiece. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's the problem. If you can put the phone in your ear instead of an earpiece, that will help out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me do that.
Thank you.
Well, like I was saying, it is very unfortunate that the late Honorable Demba Shaw is gone.
Okay.
Who was the National Assembly member in Nyamina West on the ticket of the Gambia Democratic Congress.
Right.
Regarding the entire situation that we are encountering in this country, and the talk of the town is about the upcoming by-election in Nyamina West and Kirgaka Ward.
Yes.
But to register my first disappointment is the government or the president. When actually this late honorable passed away, then they have to wait for at least the talking of 9 to 10 months, one can say. Because of COVID-19, they were unable to conduct this by-election. And to our disappointment, we suddenly saw the president going out, violating grossly and disorderly violating the COVID-19 regulation. Okay. So many people of Nyamina West, they were denied representation in the National Assembly for almost 8 to 9 months. In the name of COVID-19. Okay. And knowing what actually transpired in the National Assembly, their participation will have add value as to what was happening in the National Assembly. Okay. Knowing the issue of the draft constitution and other important documents that are already passed in the National Assembly. Of course. Regarding the political atmosphere there, I will always emphasize that GDC will remain to be the only political party that can win the mind of the electorate in Nyamina West. So this has been manifested during the presidential election, during the parliamentary election, during the councillor election, and of course you talk of the chairmanship election. Within all these election cycles, the GDC has always been the majority within that area. Okay. I have no doubt in my mind that come what may come some sign, the GDC will retain that seat. Because preparation is at a very advanced stage, and people are, our members are sensitizing the electorate regarding the manner in which the MPP or the government wants to handle the political atmosphere. So we are very confident and sure that the GDC will retain the seat. So what disappointments are you registering? Because you're saying the manner in which the NPP is handling the political situation over there. What are they actually doing that you are unsatisfied with? Yes, actually knowing that they are going for their first examination, let me put it that way, or for their first test, and knowing fully that that place or the constituency has always been the support base of the Gambian Democratic Congress. Okay. So the only mechanism that they can use in order to win the mind of the people to some extent, in which we are not going to allow whatsoever it might be, to use the state machineries in order to convince the electorate, to use the state resources in order to convince the electorate, to use the state whatsoever that is within their possession or purview in order to bribe or convince the electorate to vote for them. So and Mr. There is this rumor that they will be going around giving people money in order to take away their voters' cards from them, so that those that are supposed to vote that very day, they will not have the chance to vote, because they know those individuals, they will never in any way get to the polling station and have have their voting card given to the NPP.
So now, is that a rumor or is that something that you've actually seen happening?
I can hear you.
I say, is that a rumor or is that something that you've actually seen happening on the ground with the voter buying that you're accusing them of?
Exactly. Rumors is there is this rumor going on, like I told you, and of course we have seen the NPP officials who are also on the ground there. Not long ago, we have seen the NPP giving the GDC chairman within the area a new pickup and of course $2 million. So it's an open secret. These are things that we know for ourselves.
So were they
they are also practicing it along the line.
So is that the Biramso guy? Were they able to buy him with the pickup and the $1 million that is out there that people are talking about?
The GDC chairman never accepted such because he knows that this is just to a kind of manipulation. Because before the late Honorable Dembaso, like I told them, the late Honorable has always been very strong and supportive. He has been advocating for the people of Nyamina East, especially in the area of their development. But the government was all along ignoring him in respect to those demands. Now that the late Honorable is no more, they are trying to do everything possible, making sure that they promise this individual development so that they can win their minds. This is exactly what is happening on the ground.
Okay, so another question I have for you. I'm not sure, Sheriff, do you have any question for him?
Yes.
Go ahead and ask him. Yes.
Yeah, Honorable Minister Talala.
Hello? Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, no matter.
Sheriff is talking to you.
Can you hear me?
He said he can hear you.
Okay, so my question to you is, what are you guys doing to counter those illegal activities of the NPP when it comes to voter buying? Because as we all know, that should be something that's illegal.
Did you?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
He said, what are you doing as a party to counter those allegations about the voter buying activities that's going on by the NPP? Because
I did emphasize that earlier by saying the GDC militants, the GDC supporters, and of course the executive members of the GDC, they are presently based in Nyamina West, sensitizing the electorate as to how they need to go about this election. Because the NPP going around with the belief that they are the one controlling the state machinery does not necessarily mean that you have to give your voters card to them. The development that they are bringing at your doorstep, it is alright because you are paying tax to them, and it is obvious that 50% of the tax that one is paying has to be plowed back to the area in a form of development, constructing roads, for example, building hospitals, building schools and other basic amenities. This we are always going around to sensitize people about it. Any development, any resources coming from the government, just take it this way that it is your resources, because you are the one funding the government in order to function. So if they are bringing straight to the area, then you shouldn't be so worried about it, because it is the 60% of the tax that you were paying, they are applying back to you. So there is no worry about that, and you must not vote on the basis of that.
All right, thank you for that. So let me ask you, the dynamics for this elections, the by-election is a little bit different because the last elections was just GDC versus the NRP, because the UDP did not contest and other parties did not contest at all because they gave way to the party with the majority over there. So the assumption was GDC was the majority party in that constituency. So now, with these elections, with the NRP merging with NPP as well as other parties, PPP, GPDP, and all these parties, what's your take on that? Do you think, are you guys redoubling your efforts to maintain that seat? Because you now, instead of you fighting up with 4 or 5 parties, just to retain that seat. What's your position on that?
Yes, in fact, if you take a historical journey, GDC can still emphasize that we will retain the seat. Because when the force was stronger, when the force was very stronger than it is now, we were able to maneuver. Because then it was the coalition.
Okay.
The NPP that contested in the area, they were backed by almost 7 to 8 political parties.
Okay.
I'm getting the point.
Yeah.
So obviously, if we were able to battle with them and we were able to defeat them, so there is no doubt about it that with 5 political parties or the GDC defeating them again. Because here is a coalition setup that we all know. It's GDC versus the 5 political parties. Whenever I write in regarding this, that's how I would title it. Because you name it the NPP, you name it the NRP, you name it the NCP, you name it the PPP, and you name it the GPPP. These are the 5 political parties, of course, are constituted in order to challenge the GDC, led by the NPP. So there is no doubt we have no problem whatsoever. Even if they want, they can add extra parties. They can welcome extra parties to join them, as it was before, and we will still defeat them. I am very confident and certain that GDC will still maintain the seat. There is no doubt about that.
Okay, Mr. Ceesay, they say you are the enemy of my enemy, something like that. Is my friend, something like that, right? And I've seen on social media on some of these UDP platforms, and they're pushing it out there, advocating for people to vote for the GDC candidate there. I asked Sheriff earlier, and he kind of dived that question a little bit. So what are we trying to see here for the future coming up? Is GDC and UDP are trying to have a political marriage ceremony here? What's going on?
Well, actually, there is this rumor, of course, on the ground that the GDC and UDP, they are trying to kind of coalesce, or they are trying to kind of put up a tactic in order to help the GDC maintain that seat. But I will tell you that there is no official or formal discussion between the GDC and the UDP as per the election that is coming.
Okay.
We have no coalition, we have no alliance. The GDC, the UDP, what they clearly stated is very simple. There was this National Assembly and he is no more. Because of that sympathy, they decided that let's allow the GDC to maintain their seat. If that was the case, if there was any alliance between the UDP and the GDC, then UDP will have no contest in Kerkerga Ward. Because we have two by election in the country now. That is the Nyamina West and of course Kerkerga Ward. UDP is contested in Kerkerga Ward, and UDP is also contested in Kerkerga Ward. So if there was that alliance, then obviously, then the UDP will still allow the UDP to contest, the GDC to contest there. But that is not the case on the ground.
Okay. Sounds good.
Let me jump in here real quick. Ibrahim, you made a comment that I dove that question, but thankfully, my remarks are very similar to what the honorable member just said. And I think that's just a fact. Again, as I said, people would, say whatever, they feel like saying, because that's their opinion. They have the right to it. But right. I believe UDP knows where its competitive advantage is. Yeah. And UDP is honoring what it said, in the previous, parliamentary election, that it's not going to go and contest, in an area where it feels, some other people are stronger. And of course, he just, alluded to the sympathy factor. And of course, any decent person would have done that. For a constituency that has not had a voice in parliament for 8 months. And I think it is fair enough, to let them, have that vote, without going towards, the electoral process again. But again, NPP is not a party that honors its words. They're greedy, and that's just exactly what they're doing. And it's a shame.
Exactly. So,
Sorry, would you mind to further extend the information, because I can hear you much.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, for you, I can hear you, but for him, no.
No, he was just reiterating some of the things that you said.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but let me ask you another question, okay? And I'm just going back, it's still part of the elections. So now, if a week or something ago, I seen MC Cham Jr. going around talking about their disagreement in using paper ballots. Before we delve into that conversations, what's the format of these elections? Are they going to use the marble stones or the paper ballots?
Yeah, they are going to use the marble. They are going to use the marble because the proposal of the paper ballot that is to be presented before the National Assembly, and that is yet to be done. So obviously, the issue of the paper ballot, it is not into force. So obviously, you cannot use that to conduct the by-election. We must use the current act of the IEC to conduct that election, and that act did indicate that we must use the marble.
And is it going to be on the spot counting or what?
Yeah, very well, as described in the current IET Act, and it is exactly like that.
Okay, so what's your contention? Your party stand against paper ballots. Why is it that with the current trend in the world, people with the advancement in technology, we should not even be using paper ballots as it is today? Everything should have been computerized, but we know that the Gambia is not at that technological level yet. Why are you? Why is your party, a deterrent, for technological development when it comes to elections?
Not exactly that we are trying to against the trend of using or applying technology, because this is the world is a global place, and the Gambia is not an exception. So therefore, we must also try to adopt, even whereas we have very limited resources, but we must also try to adopt some of the technology mechanisms that are, of course, taking place in other parts of the world. So GDC will ever advocate for that. GDC will ever advocate for that. But, the situation of this country as we speak, maybe wouldn't allow maybe such things to happen as we speak. Because the issue of this paper ballot you're talking about and other technology mechanism, obviously, from now against 2021, how prepared are we? Do we have the capacity? Do we have the resources? Do we have the know-how? Do we have what it takes to ensure that the entire Gambian people are sensitized as to how we must apply some of these things? This is the question people are asking, but not necessarily that we are against whatsoever that has to do with technology.
Okay, so let me give you a scenario. In the event of a contested election result, for example, people say they do not agree, and the IEC has to go back to do a recount. With the marble stones, I think it's only the Gambia that is using that now. So how would a recount be possible if we do not start using paper ballots?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very important. It's very important. But the way it is now, the marble obviously, for that manipulation to happen or whatsoever you might call it, it will not be easy. It will not be easy. Because considering that it's a spot counting, one will find it very challenging if suppose maybe everything will be collected and counted at one place. But in this system, there is spot counting, and your agent will be there to verify, your agent will be there to ensure that what the number of votes that you secure are well known and it is known to the party. So obviously for such system now to be manipulated, it will be very difficult. I will always advocate, if we have what it takes to move, to graduate from this level to another level, I will welcome the idea. But the doubt of the citizenry is about the capacity, it's about the resources, it's about the technology needed in order to move to that level. This is the question, but not necessarily that we are against it.
But the IEC indicated that they have the capacity to do that. That's why they want to introduce paper balloting. I don't think it's actually difficult. All they have to do, if you're a candidate, they put your picture on there. For example, for some of our citizens that are not literate, that in the sense that they cannot read or write, you can put your picture on there. All they have to do is a thumbprint, next to your picture to show that they're voting for you. They don't even have to write anything down if they cannot write. So just a thumbprint will work. So you mean to tell me that they cannot provide each candidate, each voter with a piece of paper with the pictures of all the candidates that are contesting for that constituency, and then they can just put a thumbprint next to the candidate that they're voting for. So we do not have the capacity to print that many papers.
Yes. You see, the capacity I'm referring to and the resources is beyond that. To IEC and to the state, to use the paper ballot is less economical than using the marble. You and I will know about this. But at the end of the day, the system that we are adopting, we want to realize the value, the impact of it. Do we have what it takes, for example, to go across the country to sensitize the electorate as to how they are going to use the system or they are going to apply the system? That is the question that I have for IEC. And for me, they're going to still give me the assurance that there is possibility from now against 2021 to ensure that across the country they are sensitized, they are meant to know or to understand how to go by it. That is the problem we have in this country. And other political parties also is the same concern that they have. So if we are unable to sensitize, because knowing that we have almost 70 to 75% non-educated Gambians, so obviously it will be difficult. But if we have the base, if we have the background, if we have the understanding and to believe that the ordinary Gambians, they will be able to apply such system, then so be it. I have no problem with that.
So my concern is, I think the IEC, we have a year. We have almost 14 months before the next election. So the capacity should be there. If the Constitutional Review Commission was able to go about the country and the diaspora within that time period, why can't the IEC go? We have the TVs, we have the radio stations that could be utilized, to sensitize the people, to show them. And the IEC can also go from village to village to show people how to do that. And, even in fact, like they can take posters and put it in villages, so people can learn how to do that. I don't think it's a difficulty, but so some of the political parties, in my own opinion, are using this as a ploy because they think that there will be corruption involved in the process. Because, like Jamie said, the marble stones are are rig proof, right? So are you guys subscribing to that notion that there will be some level of corruption involved if paper ballots are utilized?
Well, there is this belief, there is this notion. It's not just only in the Gambia, but I would say across the African continent and in other parts of the world that you and I know. So, with the Gambia adopting this new system in the upcoming presidential election, knowing that the entire Gambians or majority of the Gambians wanting to see the president out, and you are bringing that new system to them, and the possibility for them to understand and apply such system will be challenging, then I believe the possibility for such to be adopted from now against the 2021 election will be very difficult. I don't know after the 2021 election, but presently as it is, it will be challenging, and I know most political parties will not subscribe to that. That I know.
So change, Honorable Ceesay, change is always a difficult thing. Some people don't like change because we've been using this, and it is, proven that the system that we're using is a little bit antiquated, and we have to, conform to modern standards of voting. And a lot of countries are actually gone past, using paper ballots and now utilizing, electronic forms. I think the GDC as a party, with all the sensitizing that you're doing, can't the GDC take that upon them to go about the constituencies and start sensitizing people on paper balloting?
Of course, for me as a National Assembly, I will study for myself. It is my duty and responsibility to ensure that my people understand what exactly that they are going to do at the end of the day. It is not just my duty to ask people to vote for me, but it is equally my duty to ask people or to sensitize people how they are going to vote for me. Okay. I hold that view. It is my duty to ask people to vote for me, But it is equally my duty to sensitize the people as to how they are going to vote for me. For me, I hold that view. I think the simple point that I am trying to make here is, it's not necessarily that I am against the paper ballot. I am strong advocate of it. But it depends on what they are coming up at the end of the day, whether it is convincing or not. If what they are coming before the National Assembly is convincing, then so be it. I will fully support it. So it depends. So now maybe if I will want to analyze everything and give my position in respect to that, it will be difficult because I will try kind of prognosticating what is going to happen when exactly that is not the case. So I would rather allow them to do their assignment, their proposal, and come to the National Assembly for scrutiny. We see what the citizenry will accept from that proposal.
All right, so let's go back to Sheriff.
Let me ask him a question here before you get to me. What I want to know from Honorable Ceesay is he not concerned that the IEC is trying to advocate, for a drastic change from the marble system to a paper-based system at a national level when this thing has not been tested? Would it make more sense, for this to be piloted within, a few regions of the country to see how it works before it is rolled out, nationally?
Did you hear that?
More sense, won't it?
No, I don't hear anything well.
So he's saying, are you not concerned that the IEC is trying to use the paper balloting system at the national level when it hasn't been tested at the regional level, maybe at the constituency level, before it's rolled out at the national level?
Are you telling me that is their proposal, or you are asking if that is their proposal?
He said, are you concerned that the IEC is trying to test this out? Because they're trying to test it out for next elections, which is the national elections for the presidency. But he's saying that they should probably test it maybe at the local government level first to see how it works before rolling it out at the national level. He's asking, what are your concerns about that?
Well, it depends. For me, my only concern here is, in as much as we want to adopt that system, we must make sure that the people understand how to apply it. If you see, he is suggesting that we started from the grassroots, maybe from a ward, from a constituency to a regional and up to the national level. It is because he has the feeling, he has the fear that maybe people might not easily understand it as they go. To me, it depends on how they believe that the people will understand and start applying the system. To me, even whereas it is understood, the people can understand the system before the 2021 election and they can effectively apply the system. For me, I have no problem adopting the system from 2021. We start using it.
So I think, from my own opinion, I think the politicians are trying to manage people's psyche, people's way of thinking, making it look like something it cannot be done. But I think it's very achievable. It should be easy, especially if people do not have to write. They can use thumbprints, and I think that could work. But I digress from that. We can now move on to another topic that we have. So the National Assembly, I saw an article yesterday that said that Cabinet gave the current Minister of Justice the mandate to go about and start consultations. Is that anything that you heard? Did you hear anything about that regarding them trying to do consultations on the current draft constitution? So are they trying to come up with something? What have you heard, as probably a possible insider information?
Actually, I also saw the same information from the social media. Of course, the fourth question that one will ask is, at the end of the day, how much money are you talking about that we are going to spend at the end of the day? That's one thing. Two, how do we want to go about this? Do we need to set an independent body again to go across and outside the Gambia to consult people? Or are we calling just a group of individuals to share their input? How? So these are some of the technical questions that we must ask, knowing that we already utilize 120 or 125 millions already that could have been utilized on the health sector, on the agricultural sector, on the educational sector, and so on, infrastructure.
Right.
Knowing this, the constitution was failed just on the basis of conspiracy of silence from the executive that boiled down to the National Assembly. So I'm doubting so many things in respect to this. Because what will happen if they should come back to the National Assembly? I don't know. I'm just anticipating. What will happen to those members who voted in favor of the draft constitution? Okay, what will be their take now if they should bring this back to the National Assembly? Because they have made some changes that are not actually seen as something valuable to the other camp. So it's very technical. And if those individuals also decided to reject the draft constitution, you're talking of a huge amount of money that the country is going to waste again.
I call it the double wastage of resources, because the work, and the information that they're actually trying to seek has already been identified, and the people talked about their opinions, which was reflected in the draft constitution, and they voted against it. So I'm also curious to see what they will be coming with later on. So Sheriff, do you have anything to add onto that?
Sorry?
No, I'm talking to Sheriff. Hold on a second, Mr. Ceesay. Sheriff, are you there?
Yes. I didn't follow the particular news article that you made reference to, but I just want to take Honorable Ceesay's take on why and what happened. What happened in the House? We know there are some people that voted against the draft constitution, and it's from all parties, from UDP, well, who are now independent because they've been kicked out, but the NRP, the GDP. What happened? What is his take? And where does the National Assembly stand, as an institution now? Because the legislature is supposed to be an independent body that should be free from all political, encroachment, like we've seen in the Gambia. So where does the National Assembly stand as an institution? Because we know there's lots of credibility issues and a lack of confidence, when it comes to Gambians, because of what happened, lately.
Hey, did you hear that, Mr. Ceesay?
No, for him, I can hear him well.
I kuma jamale for it, but anyways, I'll try to summarize. He says, where does the National Assembly stand today? Because with that voting, a lot of people from all the parties, except I think the UDP, I think even the UDP, one UDP member voted for it, voted against it. So with a GDC National Assembly member voting against it and all the other people that voted against it, the expectation is that the legislature is supposed to be an independent body. So where does it stand now with the political influence that it probably has going on in there?
Okay. So I agree with him. Looking at the voting that took place in the National Assembly, it was very diverse. You have some of the GDC National Assembly members who voted in favor, others voted against it. You have those in the NRP, in the APRC, because for that of the APRC, for them there is no way, and there is no way that they can review that draft constitution to the extent that the APRC will going to accept it. Because for them, they are simply saying voting in favor of the draft constitution in Barrow's government, meaning they are underrating, or they are saying their constitution, the 1997 constitution, is not good, which they brought into force. So obviously they are saying they want to maintain their legacy. So there is no way that they are going to accept it. And the NRP, you don't know what is going to happen. You talk of the 8 MPs who were sacked from the UDP, what will be their stand? So these are some of the technical things that one must analyze. And what will happen again, people from the UDP camp? What are they going to do? Knowing at the first time that they voted in favor of the draft constitution, now that it is coming back with changes, will they accept it? So it is very critical. It is very, very critical. I think there is need for the political parties to be engaged. Let this parties be engaged, let them better define and come into terms as to how they want to go about it.
Okay.
And what are some of these things that they want to see in that draft constitution? From there, it will make the task very easy for the National Assembly members to either vote yes or no for the draft constitution. But if we just start doing things in a way that we feel like doing, at the end of the day, spending so much money, we bought it in the National Assembly and MPs rejected it, that is not a good history for the country.
Okay, so okay, go ahead.
I have one question, the last one on this topic. So I'm assuming the GDC has a stand or a position when it comes to the draft constitution. I want to know what the position of the GDC is as a party when it comes to the draft constitution. And secondly,
your call was ended because you no longer have sufficient funds.
Well, we'll hold.
Let me call him back. Let me call him back again. No, go ahead, sir.
So I wanted to know what the position of the GDC is when it comes, to the draft constitution, and would there be any repercussions against, those people that voted against it in the other parliament? If there are no repercussions, what would be the stance of the GDC, making sure that there's some sort of like a discipline for those people to tour the party with?
Yeah. I'm trying to call him, but it's not going through. But that's a very interesting question, though. I'll pose it to him soon as we're able to get him on. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to call him back. All right, okay, it's ringing. Give me 1 second. I hope he answers. Hey, Mr. Ceesay.
Yes, I'm back.
Yes, I'm sorry. We lost the call at the. Can you hear me well? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Sheriff asked a very important question. He says regarding the GDC parliamentarian that voted against the draft constitution, what's the position of the party when it comes to such parliamentarians?
No, I will always clarify for the listener that the GDC position regarding the then draft constitution was to see the constitution passed. This was the position of the party.
Okay.
And these National Assembly members under the ticket of the GDC, they were elected by their electorate. So the GDC will always share concern with its National Assembly members, but does not necessarily mean that the GDC will compel, the GDC will force any of their National Assembly members to either vote yes or no.
Okay.
GDC has never done that because they believe that representation is about participation in a form of consultation. And they free their members, National Assembly members, to go and have that consultation with their electorate. So to me, I believe whatever one has to do must be the aspiration or the belief of your people. And on the basis of that, I believe they voted against the draft constitution on the basis of that. Because if you ask them today, they will tell you it's not to the best interest of my electorate. So the GDC cannot do much about that. But the GDC position, and it was made known to the National Assembly members of the GDC that we are in support of the draft constitution. But apart from that, the GDC does not in any way compel anybody to take any decision in the National Assembly. That has never happened.
Okay. All right. Sheriff has another question.
Yeah, Honorable Ceesay, and my apologies to Ips, for breaking my promise. That would have been my last question.
No, you're fine.
Mr. Honorable Ceesay, you brought up a very important topic about consultation. The Constitutional Review Commission went around the country and interviewed, had discussions, with the Gambians regarding what they want to be in the new constitution. And I believe, the law was made with consideration of people's input. When it got to the National Assembly, it was voted against. I know you voted in support of it, but would you say that the Gambian electorate and mass have been robbed of the opportunity to voice their opinion, because that's what the referendum is for? So by the fact that GDC will not compel its members to vote yea or nay, I respect that. That's your party's stance. But I think voting against the Constitution in the Parliament also deprive the Gambians of the wider say. What do you say about that?
He's asking, do you think the Gambian people were robbed of the opportunity to have their say, because the CRC went about town sensitizing the people, got the information that they needed and included it in the draft constitution, but the people never had a chance, to express, their vote via a referendum. So do you believe that the people have been robbed of that opportunity?
Yeah, I could remember you. My submission in National Assembly, you will discover this from my submission. I did indicate and urge my honorable colleague that it is very important that the consultation that we are talking about, part of our mandate was given to the CRC to exercise. Part of our powers was given to the CRC to go around within and outside the country to make that consultation on our behalf. So to me, meaning if you have the belief that the CRC did their work as expected, because I didn't have any National Assembly member challenging the procedures that the CRC followed. So with me, I hold the view that the CRC did their job as expected. So obviously meaning people were, and what was actually the input of your electorate headed in that draft constitution. So obviously, if that consultation was done on your behalf, there is need for you to give chance to your people. Whether there you will determine whether it was actually their input, whether it was actually their submission or not. If they vote in favor of the draft, have it passed, so be it. If they also vote against the draft constitution, then that is not your fault. But the people from their right to participate in a form of referendum, that was, to me, it was so discriminatory. And it was not helping actually our democrats.
Okay. So let's move on to a different topic. Thank you for those answers. Earlier, in the week, we heard about, the tirades, from Honorable Ahmad Ba. And a lot of people, registered their disappointment in his statement. But me personally, I think he could have said it better. But, my opinion is that he did not call, a lot of people are insinuating that he's calling the Mandinkas rats and stuff like that. From my own opinion, based on what I read, he did not actually call them rats. He's calling the political parties rats. And that's a common form of lingo when it comes to the Gambia. So, but he could have said it in a much nicer way than the terms that he used. But a lot of people are against it anyway, and some were demanding his resignation and all that. We know that the president was smiling, when he says such things. And this is not the first time that we've seen the president smile when speeches against, his opponents are made, even if the words are derogatory. So what's your take on that? And what's the GDC's position when it comes to Ahmad Ba's statements earlier in the week?
Yes, actually, I would say a top official relating information to the citizenry is just like a journalist will say it. The person can use it to destroy it, but the person can also use the weapon to protect the people. And if such information is coming from such caliber of individuals from the executive, there is need for one to safeguard his or her language as per the information you are relating to the citizenry. You see, the people are very aware, and it is about the content. The people understand the directives in which this information was coming from. So, there's no way that Mr. Ba will tell the citizenry or the Gambians that this is not exactly what I mean. You don't have to give information and come back to clarify that this is what exactly I mean. Okay. People speak English the way you speak English. People write English the way you write English, considering that it is our foreign language. So obviously, him apologizing or saying people are misinterpreting my statement, to me, it makes no difference. Obviously, I thoroughly condemn the statement, the tribal comment made by Honorable Ba, indicating tribe A, B, or C, it is not helping our reconciliation. Okay. Because we are coming from a very difficult environment. We are coming very government. So as a result of that, people must start thinking in the way we must unite the Gambians. People must start thinking as to how they are going to reconcile. People must start thinking as to how they are tribes, religions, and everything to be under one umbrella. But the moment you start bringing these tribal issues among ethnic groups, then you are dividing the country. And dividing this country will not actually help the Gambia move forward. Okay. There is no tribe that is better than the other. If you have an issue with a particular tribe, you can address that particular issue in a very diplomatic manner, in a very simple manner, a very simple message, because soft words break no bone. People will understand, and they will know that there is a concern that you are trying to address. For him, for instance, saying the fullers are marginalized. If you get the vehicles going to checkpoint, then you will be pointed out. They will single out the fullers. So these are things. Maybe we have been experiencing this in the past system, and it is a concern. There is a way to address such concern in a way that you will not offend any other tribe in this country. But to the extent of calling people dreamers or what you call it, that was just offensive to me.
Okay, sounds good. Sheriff, do you have any last question for him before we let him go? He's been on for almost an hour.
No, I don't have any questions, but I just want to commend him for taking that position, and I think that's what all politicians like him that are decent enough to condemn such derogatory and divisive statements should do. Ahmad Ba has no business to make that. What's most disturbing is doing it in the how do you call it again?
Yeah, so
State House.
He cannot hear you, but let me just close with him and then we can continue quickly. So, Mr. Ceesay.
Yeah.
Hey, one question, before I let you go, okay? Do you think the NPP as a new party, do they have a chance of winning the next presidential elections?
If you ask me as an opposition political party and what is actually happening on the ground and the dynamic in which the Gambian politics is moving, I don't see the possibility. The possibility is very slim as long as I can analyze things from from the little I gather from such experts. The possibility is very narrow because this is a political party. If you wrote an article, I will release the article maybe by tomorrow or after tomorrow. Okay. This is a party that was formed as a result of betrayal, as a result of the desperation, result of confusion. Because there is this confusion between the UDP and the DD and Adama Barrow that led to the establishment of this new political party.
Correct.
So knowing the formation, knowing what resulted the formation of this political party will definitely let you know that the party was never formed in a manner that people participated during the process. Who got their position in the present and in the future, having the belief or the hope that President Barrow will win the next election, motivated him to establish this new party just within the State House. But people know the president, but this new party, in fact, it is not well known to the grassroots because structures are not in place. Structures are not in place. As we speak, their central executive, they have only 2 members there. That is the party leader who is the president and the admin secretary. Other than that, there is no other thing actually in their executive. And likewise, in the sub-regional constituency and regional committees. Likewise, across the committees, what actually they are experiencing. So the possibility to be is very narrow because Barrow is not helping the Gambian people. Barrow is not giving any development. Barrow is not uniting the Gambians. Barrow is not actually related information that will give hope for the Gambian people. So they are justification that for the Gambians to go back and elect Adam Barrow will be very difficult. I will not encourage anyone to do that.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much, for all the answers, Honorable Omar Ceesay, and thank you for dedicating an hour of your time today, speaking to us on the GAM Recap Show here on LSTV1. Thank you for joining us, and we'll hope to have you soon, on the show again. Your inputs are all valid, and we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening. All right, folks, that was Honorable Omar Ceesay of the GDC. He's the parliamentarian for Nyamina East constituency, and this is the GAM Recap Show coming to you live on LSTV1. So today we were unable to have Afridamos here today, and he'll join us next Saturday. He was a little bit tied up and couldn't make it. So thank you all the viewers, for joining us, and Sheriff Cora, for being a good co-host today. We appreciate his time too, even though his daughter is, occupying his time too. So right here on LSTV1, we currently have a raffle that's going on, and we want people to go and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Once you subscribe to the channel, we'll get your name. And once we get your name, we'll put you in a raffle. So we're looking to have at least 10 people. Once we reach our goal, we'll put a raffle out, and 10 people will win $500 each. So all you have to do is just go onto our YouTube channel and then subscribe to it. It is called LSTV1 on YouTube. And once you subscribe, we'll have your name down. And once we reach the required goal of about 400 subscribers, then we will put you in a drawing, and you will receive $500 for the 10 people that win. Each person will receive $500. So that's an equivalent of $5,000 to be given away. So visit our YouTube page and LSTV1 on YouTube and subscribe to it, and you get a chance to win. All right, that's a free giveaway, $500 in Gambia. If you want it, you get it in cash. Or if you want phone credit, you get it. If you want it as cash power credit, you get it however you want it. You'll get it in cash or kind. But then just go ahead and subscribe to our channel and support us, okay? So, Sheriff, what's your closing remarks, so we can wrap up?
Yeah, I had some interruption. Sorry about that. But it was a very interesting discussion. I want to thank, Honorable Omar Ceesay for enlightening us, with things happening on the ground, and for being an astute leader in the House of Parliament and in the country as a whole. Seeing a young, dynamic guy like him is something that is very promising for the Gambia. Yeah. I didn't get the chance to hear the tail end of your discussion, regarding the unfortunate speech that we had at the State House last week.
With Honorable Ahmad Ba?
Yes. I don't think, the State House, should be a place where such, derogatory remarks, would be made, especially by a Minister of State with the President in the background laughing. This is not the first time we've seen Adam Barrow do this. He's done this thing, on several occasions. As a leader who respects Gambians and who respects the office of the presidency, Adam Barrow should have stood up and condemned, the words of, Ahmad Ba. He's a transitional leader, and we are going through a reconciliation process, like the Honorable Member of Parliament said. So having this kind of, rhetoric, been made, in the country and at the State House alone to disturb any Gambian. But it lends back to our argument over the past few months that, this is not a government that should be in place. This is not the type of, leadership that we deserve. For the president to be sitting down, listening to his minister, calling people, rodents. We've had this thing during the Jammeh era. But even, however we might say about Jammeh, I don't think I've ever remembered him, making such remarks, at the State House. I mean, he's done it, within political rallies, but not the State House. At least decency enough, not to do that. He will have problems with people that he will address at the State House, but he will not call people names, the whole entire nation or a certain tribe, at the State House.
Yeah.
To see this thing happening during Adam Barrow's, period of ruling, is quite disturbing. So that's my take on it. And I know an apology was made, but again, the words have been, released. So we just have to, decide. And I think, we have to decide for change again.
I know. Hold on. So, Sheriff, I mean, with that, I remember when the MP for Talinding, Fatoumata Jawara, when she made those horrendous statements against Hussein Udabo, and the president was sitting there and he was laughing. So to a lot of people, that was an affirmation to, what the people are saying. He subscribed to their statements. So even if you reprimand those people in private, it still doesn't say much about you because, publicly, you were laughing, which means you've endorsed what they said as a leader. And I think it's very unfortunate that we have a leadership that would allow people to make such derogatory statements. I'm not saying like what Ahmad said, he could have said it better, but that wasn't the place to say that because Ahmad even missed an opportunity because he was highlighting the plight of the Fulani people when it comes to getting identity documents because he felt that they were being marginalized. You made the statement and it was noted, but then you went ahead and started making those statements, which now people are not even focusing on the issue of the Fulani people when it comes to getting identity documents. People are now entirely focused on on his statements, when it comes to rats. So I think he did not do himself any service, by coming up with that. But I might just like that. He said, during his interview with Fatty Network that he likes to be watched. So he likes the attention, I believe. So
I mean, some politicians are just loose cannons. So we just have to take them for what they are. But again, I think you have to look at it within the context of his speech. True, in the Gambia, there should not be any room for discrimination or marginalization of anybody or any group. As long as you're a Gambian, we should all be entitled, to the same right.
Mm-hmm.
But now, what this guy did was, whether he was referring to the Mandinkas as some suspected or he's referring to the people that work in the government, I do not know. But all he did was, he did a damage. If he was referring to the government, it's two things. Well, it's like, he himself is, he's like accepting and acknowledging the failure of the government.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the immigration officials, they're the ones who are charged, with asking for identity cards of people.
Yes.
So the Mandinkas, are not immigration officers. It's just a tribe. The political parties don't have that mandate. It's immigration. So Ahmad by himself saying that at State House, with Adam Barrow laughing, it's just, he is referring to their failure as a government. That the immigration officers, if they're the people he's referring to. Well, if he's referring to the Mandinkas implicitly, well, then that's a problem. That tells us that Adam Barrow is not an ethical leader. This guy doesn't have any moral fiber in him. He's broken every single promise to the Gambian electorates. Every single promise he's broken. We've seen massive corruption in that country. And you just made, a very important point. That's why I said this is not the first time. I mean, we've seen people do it, during the Talinding rally where they called, the leader of, the UDP, horrendous names. I mean, no matter what political differences, you might have, that doesn't mean there are certain words, you should use, publicly against, political opponents. And he was sitting out there, he heard those words and he didn't condemn them. And we've seen the same thing being repeated again at the State House this time around. So who, as a decent leader with morality and ethics, would sit silently and then hear these things, being said, and you do not condemn them? I don't think, that is, part of our culture. It's not part of our values, and we should not support it. But again, the type of leader that we have, Adam Barrow has a fractured personality.
Yes.
He came as a political candidate in 2016. The way he portrayed himself and what he truly is are completely different things. And now we are seeing who the true guy is. I mean, you had the honorable member of, Parliament just say they're buying votes. And then, last week you talked about, them going, to the URR, trying to bribe somebody with a car and like, I don't know how many $1 million is, to change, parties. They will do anything to stay in power. They will do anything to stay in power, even when it takes, plundering the resources of, the Gambia. All these development funds that have been brought in, the COVID-19 relief funds and everything, I'm very, very skeptical, if those things, will put, in the right place. So, I mean, we have fought for change, but we have not had the change that we deserve. Mandingo do bon follow. Mbata jado bulo kono dunda solo bulo kono. Mankana.
Ego madam mundo.
Mbata jado le bulo kono dunda solo bulo kono. So mankana. We have to we are back at square one. We took one step forward and one backwards. That's Afri Davos, yeah. So
Hey, yeah,
Afri.
sorry, man. I was running late. Doing some work. You know how it
yeah.
goes. It goes in America. You gotta work.
That's true, man.
Yeah.
So it's Ninda BJ. Gambia, we are one people. Discrimination all BJ, I agree. In the Bama on Fuloldi. You understand? My mom is a Fula, and I have lots of cousins, that are Sarahule, in Kambesara, Diabogo, Sabi, everywhere. You understand? It's a Gambia no jala muya nka famo true Gambia noti among what diversity sort of ala family kono. As it right now, but very few. There'll be more killing let see Fadam Fanso Nyantamban Nawala. Nia Jabe Dowd and the Inyanta voice ad Lalabari. In anything, justification and anything, context matters more than content. And Nia Fanyami Adambaro, Ahmad Bah words are something that people, should fight if it's really existed. But the context in which he spoke, he was, stoking tribal politics, to favor a certain political party, and the honorable member said it's the context that he used. And what he said was, to get rid of this, we have to vote for the NPP. So, Mandinko, Eko, Yana Masuluo, wala Jawara, ni Ulakono Suluo. He said NPP passing, Asafurla, he was an NRP passing, Abada Jada NPP. Well, he's a rogue. You see the difference between NRP and MPP is the R. He's a rogue element. This is not by nature to use, this personal attacks in politics. But you have to look at, the context in which you speak. And we need to condemn tribal politics. There's no place in it in the Gambia. We are a very small country. And for somebody to stand on a political platform, not even a political platform, but speaking at the State House, making such statements, no, it's very sad. It breaks my heart to see that, especially for me, coming from a Fuller mob. I don't think, the Fullers, should be stoked, to look at, other Gambians, differently because they are discriminated against.
Yeah, but Sirif, I don't mean to cut you off, but I've heard a lot of people pushing back saying Hamad Ba was being tribalist, tribalist in a negative way, and they also even try to take the Dirimo comment as a tribe. Nte, njakal telephone ko je fosa in Gambia Dirima kundale be kelonje. Huh? Because now everybody's coming out trying to make that, as like a tribal thing. Some people even use, Bafolako, abe party kari la blah blah blah. Nde, to be frank, Ahmad Bala Diamo Kono, NPP, inin juma lebe compete la puruka kafulo la carte sodo. Because we cannot fool ourselves to say certain groups don't vote for certain individuals, and that's not a bad thing. People want to vote for what they are familiar with. It all just comes down to education eventually, for us all to understand. Because I know three of us here, we are not sitting here thinking about any tribal thing. That's because of the areas we're from. We've received education, with each other. But majority of Gambia is not like that. GDC is the competition for NPP for the fuller vote. That's how I saw it, And Hamad Ba is using the fear, of these fullers, not all fullers, but majority. He's using their fear to try to get votes. We cannot say the problems that he highlighted are not true. These are in fact true, and we have to look at the people that went to go visit them. They were there purposely. This is, I'm sure, this is the number one problem on their agenda. So now, he's saying, if you vote my guy in Adama Barrow, we would take care of this. And I know that for a fact, not anyone telling me this, even prior to today, prior to 2020, prior to Hamad Ba being so well known by everyone, this has been his talking point. Actually, he did always talk about the fullers being discriminated against when it comes to getting documentation, when it comes to getting picked on by the immigration. We've all seen it. What you want to tell la katara jela somday kana ka fulol ikatari la bitigo kono ye arrest warante be korda kono ye arrest. We I have seen this with my own eyes. I have been in vans, traveling, somebody who's lighter skin, fuller, they would give them a hard time, ye jindi moto kono. So no one can say that is fair treatment. So for Hamad Ba to be able to even say this is because we have a system that gave him the opportunity to be able to talk about these abuses. But what really blew my mind is a lot of people are deviating and running away from this truth, which, these people, they full as are Gambians. I'm not saying all of them, but majority are Gambians. He gave examples like if a Sarawule, I would speak of Sarahule because I'm a Sarahule. If I name another tribe, they would say he's tribalist. He said a Sarahule coming from Mali, looking for paperwork, they're not gonna question his citizenship, and this is true. A Mandinka coming from Guinea-Bissau, they're not gonna question their citizenship. I've seen all these things, you see. So I think we should definitely, yes, people can talk about what Hamad Ba said, but we should also address this problem, this discrimination that some of our fuller brothers and sisters are facing.
Yeah, mo fay to nyala fo. Maybe nak mo followed la
Oh,
ema
okay.
moy. I'm not saying abe mum folk ang among soton, but I'm from Bansa, and I've seen what you are saying. I've seen like lots of that, happening in the Gambia where I see Fuloje and immigration officers see stop, and they will be harassed at times. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but we don't want to get into the historical context of it.
Right.
From Sekou Touré with the migration of most Fulani coming to the Gambia in the 70s and the 80s. Some of them need Arabase Uncle Futa Bija, Arabansa Uncle Futa Bija. I'm sure even Brikama maybe as a tragedy. Okay, but what I'm saying is, it's not that there's not discrimination against the Fulani. Of course, most of them are traders. They have the money. And it is easier for these immigration officials, to intimidate them and get, some money out of them. I'm not saying all of them, but of course we have rogue elements within the forces, that would do that. They are an easy target because it's easy to extort money from them. We've seen it. I'm not saying all of them are that way, but
Okay, we need to wrap it up.
I'm not buying for problem about Afo Nyamin. Manding ko kumo ko minentinya mfodula ne mfonya.
Yeah,
So,
but it Tonya for.
but you have to look at the context.
But I'm a morning. I Tonya mim for maybe akuyata molde to learn.
No.
But it's nte I mim for Hamad Ba mim for ntata lengala kumo lamwe. Man kasi jeje, man problem jeje, no man kasi jeje kanta man morning. Ntebe fama la Gambia la dirima kunda tije. For sa mobile of the fankela ko itol ikontongo mu dirimolti. Come on, man. Ngalo na be dirimo mim foka wala nyintiko sunyaro. Andu ngalo ne ko
immigration he's acknowledging the failure of the government because immigration call wala kay immigration laws nyol tamandi.
Ha.
Party buka law tamandi. So if you are saying dirimo ila mansa kunda be wala fa jalai kam.
So, but Memina, ite you are coming up with something else that makes sense, right? You mean for them, I sense make it. But Bari mo Jamal Bije, they you know, imantaraka jibe from that position. They personalize it. You know, nkonga dol fama dol je Facebook afo. Hamad ba Gambia belen. Nta mambo dirima kunda.
I don't think I'll go there.
Hamad ba.
I don't think so. No.
No,
But
among morning. Andung ka mo killing in tosi fal. Kabrin jawara la wato. Ifo jawara buka mol kile kumbus ringwal. Fal jal mamo jawara mimfo doima. So it's like, you know.
But that's a political platform. You have to see that's a different.
No, but this is campaign. Campaign.
This is campaign where we're not in a campaign season, Africa. Let's be honest. We're not in a campaign season.
All right, guys, we need to close this. Maybe we need to take it. We have time.
Okay, problem.
All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you to my co-host, Afridamos and Sheriff Cora. This LSTV1. Please do not forget to hit that link and subscribe to our channel and get a chance to win $500 for 10 winners. So just go ahead and subscribe. Thank you, guys. The topics have been really interesting. So next week, we'll continue this conversation. Thank you for joining us and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Hey, thank you.